leaked video from behind the scenes of the NBA All-Star Game featuring Kevin Durant, Luka Dončić, and Nikola Jokić has hit the web, and the basketball community is absolutely losing its mind over it. Everything about the clip, from the context to the superstars involved, has made this the single most analyzed event of the weekend. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so we can get into the gritty details of what went down and how three of the league's titans found themselves in the middle of this storm. The NBA All-Star format has seen more makeovers recently than most teams see in a whole 10-year run. The reason? It's simple. The defense was non-existent. The competitive spirit was dead. The showcase had morphed into a glorified practice run featuring millionaires and signature kicks barely breaking a sweat, while fans who dropped hundreds of dollars were forced to watch a 48-minute layup drill. The 2024 game in Indianapolis is widely viewed as the absolute rock bottom for the franchise. The scoreboard hit cartoonish totals. Guys were just giggling on the hardwood. The rim was left unprotected. There was zero fire on either side of the ball. The internet showed no mercy. Fans labeled it unwatchable garbage. Retired legends called it a total embarrassment. Even the guys playing admitted later that the product was trash. The outrage was so deafening and completely unanimous that the league had to rip up the script. So, for 2025, the NBA made massive moves. They pivoted the All-Star Game to a mini tournament style. Rather than two squads and one meaningless exhibition, the event was rebuilt to feature multiple crews battling in shorter matchups with actual elimination on the line. The theory was that if you gave these athletes a reason to fight, a scenario where a loss meant packing your bags, the intensity would spike, and maybe, just maybe, they would actually try. The 2025 edition took over, the Chase Center in San Francisco. With the Golden State Warriors playing host, the Bay Area provided the backdrop for what the NBA prayed would save their midseason jewel. The rosters were stacked. The absolute best on the planet showed up. Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokić, and Luka Dončić were all central to the weekend's action, bringing their unique mix of god-tier skill and massive egos to the... Now, if you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button. Here is where the story heats up. The new setup worked, at least in some ways. The rivalry was back. The trash talk was loud. Bodies were actually banging in the paint. Guys were locking down on defense. We saw genuine possessions where superstars got low in their stance and contested jumpers. Compared to the disaster of 2024, it was night and day. But raising the stakes also raises the tension. And when you lock the most alpha competitors on earth in a gym where they are genuinely giving effort, tempers are going to flare. Kevin Durant has built a career on being the ultimate competitor. This is a guy who has spent nearly 20 years cementing his legacy as one of the deadliest scorers to ever touch a basketball. He doesn't take plays off. He doesn't sleepwalk through games, not even the exhibitions. Durant is known for wanting to dominate every single time he laces them up. That applies to All-Star games, private, runs, and probably shooting contests in his own backyard. That fire is the core of his identity. Luka Dončić is cut from that same cloth. The Slovenian phenom has been torching defenses across the league since he was just a kid. Dončić plays with a chip on his shoulder. He chirps at rivals. He rides the refs. He plays with a raw emotion that fuels his greatness but also exposes his frustration. Dončić refuses to back down from anybody, and his swagger borders on pure arrogance. He has gone head-to-head with every icon in the game and has been doing it since he was 20 years old. Then you have Nikola Jokić, the reigning MVP at the time, a three-time winner, and the guy most people agree is the best in the world. Jokić is a different breed. He keeps his mouth shut. He doesn't get in your grill, but his competitive drive is lethal if you are only looking for the loud, flashy type. Jokić kills you with his game. He wins by making the perfect read, snatching the board, and thinking 3 moves ahead of the defense. But don't get it twisted. Jokić is no pushover. When the game gets rough, he stands his ground. So, you have this trio in San Francisco, all thrown into a revamped All-Star tournament specifically engineered to spark a fight. And according to the rumors flying around, an incident occurred backstage that eclipsed anything broadcast on national TV. The clip dropped first on social media, standard procedure for leaks in 2025. It didn't come from the NBA or the major networks. It just appeared out of nowhere. It started as a flicker on X, exploded onto Instagram, took over YouTube, and hijacked every basketball thread on the web in a matter of hours. The video was low resolution, shaky, and unmistakably recorded on a mobile device. Despite the blocked camera angles and the garbled audio, the snippets of visual information were enough to ignite a massive controversy. The scene appeared to unfold behind the curtains at the Chase Center. This wasn't happening on the hardwood or during warm-up drills. This was deep in the bowels of the arena, in the corridors linking the locker rooms to the main floor. You can see a crowd in the clip. Some look like athletes, while others fit the profile of security guards, team handlers, or league officials. It is chaotic. People are scrambling. At the heart of this storm, according to the original uploaders, stood Kevin Durant, Luka Dončić, and Nikola Jokić. The captions accompanying the leaked video hinted at a physical scrap. The word fight was thrown around liberally. Commenters were calling it a heavy altercation or a backstage brawl. The narrative suggested these three titans clashed behind the scenes at the All-Star festivities, and the league was desperate to bury it. Before we dig deeper, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Fans immediately noticed the silence from the top brass. No press release from the NBA. Major sports networks were strangely quiet about it at first. This led many to suspect a cover-up operation was in full swing. In the first 12 hours alone, the clip racked up millions of views across every major social app. The basketball community went full detective mode, breaking the video down second by second. Slow motion breakdowns flooded the timeline. Users zoomed in, trying to put names to faces and decipher the action. Some swore they saw Durant throwing heated hand gestures. Others claimed Dončić was being restrained by security. A few pointed to a massive silhouette in the center, identifying it as Jokić. The fan base was split down the middle. One camp was certain this was a heavyweight bout between the best in the business. The other camp wasn't buying it. The footage was so grainy that confirming identities was nearly impossible. The obstruction made it easy for people to project their own drama onto the blurry shapes. Plus, All-Star Weekend is a zoo. You have hundreds of players, agents, reporters, and staff flooding those hallways constantly. However, the rumor train had already left the station. The headline was set: Durant, Dončić, and Jokić threw down backstage. That became the reality. And in the age of social media, once a rumor gains that much momentum, the truth hardly matters. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we track this story. What added fuel to the fire was the timing of the leak. During the actual broadcast of the All-Star events, cameras caught undeniable friction between the trio. We saw hard fouls that didn't feel friendly. Microphones picked up some spicy trash talk. There were standoffs where players lingered in personal space a beat too long. In an exhibition match, you usually brush that off as showmanship, not a real problem. Looking back, however, fans are citing these clips as proof of boiling tension. Durant and Dončić faced off during a tournament bracket. There was a specific play where KD scored on Luka and barked something at him. Luka clapped back. It was a quick exchange and they kept playing. Live, it looked like standard competitive juice. But once that Backstage video dropped, everyone hit rewind. They slowed the tape. They brought in amateur lip readers. The new theory was that this on-court chirping was the match that lit the fuse for the Backstage explosion. Likewise, there was a scrum involving Jokić where a foul occurred and bodies piled up in the paint. Jokić was in the mix. Durant was hovering. The refs broke it up and the game moved on. It seemed irrelevant then. Now, it looks like a precursor. To get why the internet is so ready to believe that KD, Luka, and the Joker actually squared up, you have to look at the history. There is serious baggage here. While that doesn't prove a backstage fistfight happened, it provides the context that makes the rumor believable to the masses. Kevin Durant and Luka Dončić have been locking horns in the West for years. Durant, first with the Nets and now with the Suns, keeps colliding with Dončić. The Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks are bitter division rivals. They clash multiple times every year, and those matchups often carry a playoff atmosphere that exceeds a typical Tuesday night game. You hear Kevin Durant and Luka Dončić talk in the press, and it is all bouquets and roses. KD has publicly stamped Luka as elite, one of the absolute best in the association. Luka, for his part, talks about idolizing the Slim Reaper growing up. But do not let the PR friendliness fool you. Once they step between the lines, that mutual admiration turns into cold-blooded warfare. We are talking about two certified killers who refuse to back down. When they get matched up, it is not just basketball, it is a battle of egos. You watch them trade buckets and the body language screams that both men are convinced they are the alpha dog on that hardwood. Flashback to that specific showdown during the 2024-2025 campaign, things got chippy. It kicked off with a hard foul, spiraled into some heated trash talk, and then evolved into a straight-up isolation showcase. They were headhunting each other on every possession. At that point, the scoreboard did not matter. It was all about the one-on-one duel. Post-game, the media tried to stir the pot, asking about the tension. Naturally, both guys poured water on the fire. Durant called it standard hoops. Dončić claimed he brings that energy for everyone. But hey, if you are enjoying this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, because real fans saw the fire in their eyes that night. Now, the dynamic between Nikola Jokić and Kevin Durant, that is a different beast entirely. It is less about bad blood and more about the throne. It is a generational clash. Durant represents the established royalty, the rings, the scoring titles, the legacy. Jokić is the usurper, the current ruler of the NBA. He is sitting on 3 MVPs, a championship ring, and has arguably held the title of best in the world for a few years running. When these two legends share the floor, you can feel the tension of the old guard trying to hold off the new regime. It is an unspoken war for dominance. KD gets asked about the Joker constantly. He usually keeps it classy, but every now and then, the competitor in him slips out. There was this moment on a podcast recently where Durant was listing off the top talents in the game, and his tone when he got to Jokić, it had a little bite to it. Nothing overt, just a subtle edge. Unless you have been tracking Durant's career since day one, you might have missed it, but the friction was real. On the flip side, you have Jokić and Luka. Their vibe is completely different. They are the European prodigies who came over young and took the league by storm. They share a cultural bond and a language that gives them a unique connection. Plus, with the Nuggets and Mavs both being heavy hitters in the West, they have seen plenty of each other. Usually, it is all laughs and jokes before tip-off. But like any true greats, there is a hard line in the sand where the buddy-buddy act stops. The 2024 playoffs, that was a turning point. Both Dallas and Denver were chasing the Larry O'Brien trophy, and the stakes went through the roof. Those regular season battles turned into playoff previews. You had 2 MVP caliber monsters leading teams with legit championship or bust mentalities. The games were bruising, they were physical, and while Luka and Jokić never had a viral shoving match, the intensity was suffocating. It was strictly business. Before we get into the backstage drama, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay ahead of the NBA news cycle. You have to understand the landscape right now. The power balance in the Western Conference is razor thin. Durant's Suns, Luka's Mavs, and Jokic's Nuggets are all fighting for the same piece of the pie. Every single matchup dictates seeding, home court, and ultimately who runs the West. These are not just player rivalries, they are franchise wars. The players are just the generals leading the charge. So when that grainy footage leaked, appearing to show these 3 icons in a heated confrontation backstage at All-Star Weekend, nobody was surprised. The narrative wrote itself. The history, the tension, the egos, it all lined up perfectly. Fans wanted it to be true because, let's be honest, 3 top 5 players throwing hands would be the biggest story of the decade. Imagine the chaos if the league's faces got into a brawl at the NBA's premier showcase. The media went into a frenzy, blowing up the phones of agents and PR reps for everyone involved. They contacted Phoenix, Dallas, Denver, and even the league office looking for a statement. But for the first 24 hours, it was radio silence. And in the NBA, silence usually means something went down. But let's pump the brakes and analyze what is actually on the tape, stripping away all the hype and the thirst for drama. This is where the truth gets murky and the internet detectives take over. The clip that broke the internet is only about 14 seconds long. Just 14 seconds. That is all we have. In that short window, you see a hallway, likely near the locker rooms. There is a lot of traffic in the frame. People walking, security standing around. Suddenly, you see a group clustered together tightly. There is some frantic movement that looks like it could be a scuffle, blurry, shaky, and shot from a mile away. The lighting is terrible, and the critical angle is partially obstructed by what looks like a massive concrete pillar or a doorway. But that didn't stop the internet sleuths from dissecting it. First off, the positive IDs were essentially a guessing game based on silhouettes and streetwear. Sure, Durant is a beanpole and Jokić is a mountain, while Dončić has that husky frame. Fans froze the frame, zooming in on pixels to match the outfits to what they allegedly wore earlier. But here is the reality check. Backstage at All-Star Weekend is the land of giants. There are dozens of 7-footers walking around. We are talking legends, coaching staff, media personalities, and ex-player security guards who are massive human beings trying to pin down specific superstars in the dark through a grainy phone lens is statistically laughable. Before we get into the brawl, if you love busting sports myths, make sure to smash that like button right now. Second, that scuffle everyone saw, it is likely an optical illusion. The bowels of an NBA arena are absolute chaos. You have traffic flowing everywhere, players headed to the court, locker rooms, pressers, and sponsor gigs. It is a hive of activity. From 50 feet away, a group of guys dapping each other up or navigating a crowded corridor can look aggressive. A bottleneck in the hallway where guys stop to chat can easily be mistaken for a standoff when viewed through a potato quality camera. Third, let's talk about the sound. The people spreading the video swore they heard shouting matches and the thud of punches. But when audio experts actually isolated the track, they found nothing but arena buzz. The tunnels during All-Star Weekend are deafening. You have echoes bouncing off concrete, machinery moving, and 100 conversations happening at once. Claiming you can hear a specific argument over the ambient roar of an arena is pure fantasy, according to the pros who analyzed the clip. Fourth, and this is the smoking gun, is the silence that followed. If 3 of the planet's top MVPs threw hands backstage at the league's showcase event, the fallout would be nuclear. The NBA does not play around with player conduct. A backstage brawl means instant fines, suspensions, and a PR nightmare. The league office launches full investigations for much less. They interview everyone, pull security tapes, and file official reports. If KD, Luka, and the Joker actually squared up, Commissioner Silver would have dropped the hammer. But what happened? Absolutely nothing. In the days after the clip blew up, the league office was quiet. No suspensions dropped. No fines were levied. There wasn't even a whisper of an internal probe. None of these guys sat out a single game for disciplinary reasons. Neither the Suns, the Mavs, nor the Nuggets said a word. The total lack of consequences was spun by conspiracy theorists as a massive cover-up, but for anyone with common sense, it was proof that nothing happened. By the way, if you want to stay ahead of the fake news cycle, hit that subscribe button. The real insiders, the beat writers, and reporters on the ground shut this down immediately. These are credentialed journalists with all access passes who were literally standing in those hallways all weekend. Multiple respected sources went on record stating they heard zero chatter about a fight involving the Big Three. One reporter confirmed they were standing in that exact tunnel when the video was supposedly shot and saw nothing but high fives. Another insider reminded everyone that the All-Star vibe is totally different. It is not a playoff battle, it is a fraternity party. These guys are rivals during the regular season, but this weekend is their time to chill, network, and hang out with friends they rarely see. It is a business trip mixed with a reunion. Actual fistfights in this setting are practically unheard of. But facts rarely stop a viral train. The narrative was too juicy to ignore. In our clickbait era, the first headline is the only one that matters. And the headline, MVP trio brawls backstage, traveled halfway around the world before the truth put its shoes on. The aftermath of this leak says way more about sports culture than it does about the players. It exposes our hunger for drama and how quickly we abandon logic for a scandalous story at the Chase Center. Regardless of the blurry reality, the audience reaction was genuine. It shines a light on how we consume basketball narratives in 2025. Within just 48 hours, that clip racked up over 50 million views across social platforms. The content machine went into overdrive. Creators churned out hundreds of breakdown videos. Podcasts dedicated full hours to analyzing the Phantom Punch. Sports debate shows ran segments asking if suspensions were incoming. Accusing the NBA of burying the tape and questioning the league's culture, it was a perfect storm of hype over substance, proving that a shaky camera and a wild caption are all you need to break the internet. The rumor mill went nuclear before any of the big three could even get to a microphone. But when the trio finally broke their silence, the vibes were incredibly revealing. Kevin Durant, a guy who usually treats Twitter beefs like a contact sport, took to his podcast to clear the air. His attitude? Total dismissal. He brushed off the entire weekend as standard operating procedure. There was zero mention of a scuffle or heated exchange. He kept the focus strictly on the All-Star festivities, the level of competition, and chopping it up with his peers. Honestly, he didn't sound like a man who had been throwing hands behind the scenes just 48 hours prior. Then you have Luka Dončić, cornered by the press before a matchup. Luka kept it short and sweet. He claimed he had a blast and loved the new format. But when reporters drilled down on the viral clip, Luka looked genuinely lost. Like he actually had no clue what they were talking about. Now, whether that was an Oscar-worthy acting job or legitimate confusion is up to you, but let's be real. His chilled-out body language didn't match the profile of a guy who just got into a backstage brawl with two other MVPs. And then there is Jokić. The Joker stayed completely on brand. This is a guy who treats media availability like a visit to the dentist. When pressed about the weekend, he gave his usual mumbled, two-word answers about the game. He didn't even acknowledge the video exists. Beat writers confirmed he was his usual goofy self, hardly the demeanor of a guilty man. The NBA front office eventually weighed in, but if you were waiting for a bombshell press conference, you were out of luck. A spokesperson basically shrugged, confirming they had seen the grainy video that broke the internet. They ran a quick review, checked the tapes, and decided there was absolutely nothing to see here. No suspensions, no fines, that was it. No frame-by-frame breakdown, just a corporate move along, folks. Naturally, the internet detectives weren't buying it. For the hardcore fans, this statement was a nothing burger. They are demanding the raw CCTV footage from the arena hallways. They want the receipt. They want official denials signed in blood. They are practically begging for a whistleblower to leak the real story. To the conspiracy theorists, the lack of a detailed report feels sketchy, like a classic cover-up to protect the league's golden geese. But hey, let's play devil's advocate for a second. If it really was a non-event, the NBA's silence makes perfect sense. You don't hold a press conference to debunk every fake story. If you're enjoying this breakdown, by the way, make sure to smash that like button right now. You acknowledge the noise, check the facts, and if it's fake, you keep it moving. If you feed the trolls, you just make the bridge bigger. The league probably figured a quick no comment was the smartest play to kill the story before it snowballed any further. But honestly, this whole saga teaches us a massive lesson. It shows just how fast a lie can travel in the modern sports news cycle. We watched a blurry 14-second clip, shot on a potato, verify absolutely nothing. Yet, it became the biggest headline of the year before lunch. It racked up millions of views and sparked fierce debates before anyone even knew who was actually in the video. We were arguing over ghosts. And let's be honest, this isn't just a basketball problem. This is the world we live in. A clip drops, a caption sets the narrative, and suddenly it is treated as gospel truth. The framing becomes the fact. The lie sprints around the world while the truth is still tying its shoes. By the time the correction comes out, nobody cares. The fake story is already etched into the history books. That grainy backstage clip of KD, Luka, and Jokić is going to haunt comment sections for the next decade. Every time these guys face off, someone is going to bring up the secret brawl. It will be prime content for conspiracy YouTube documentaries forever. It is part of the lore now, facts be damned. Because in the year 2025, being first is more important than being right. But the most fascinating part of this whole drama, it exposes just how thirsty we are for beef between our favorite superstars. The NBA spends millions marketing rivalries. They want us to pick sides, they sell the drama, they want us arguing over who is the alpha dog, and it works. If you love the drama as much as the game, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a beat. But when that marketing meets the wildfire of social media, things get weird. We wanted that fight to be real. We turned a nothing clip into a blockbuster movie because we crave the conflict. Look, Durant, Dončić, and Jokić are three of the greatest to ever lace them up. They are fierce competitors, sure, but they are also grown men and professionals who know the All-Star game isn't a UFC cage. The idea that they were throwing haymakers backstage makes for a great story, but it just doesn't fit the reality. Throwing hands backstage at the NBA's biggest showcase would be, frankly, absolutely insane if you actually stop to process it. We are talking about an event that would shatter league history records. The commissioner would be handing out massive suspensions, million-dollar fines, and we might even see police reports. This story would own the headlines for months. But here is the kicker. None of that chaos actually went down. These three superstars just went back to their squads after the break. Like nothing happened. 0 suspensions, 0 cash penalties, 0 lawsuits filed, and you know what else? Not a single reputable insider confirmed a brawl ever took place. All we have is that blurry video clip. And let's be real, that footage, which we broke down earlier, shows absolutely nothing concrete. By the way, if you enjoy real analysis over clickbait, smash that like button right now. So, what is the real takeaway here? This isn't a story about a fight in a Chase Center hallway. It is a story about how hungry we are for drama in the sports world. It exposes how quickly fans will run with a narrative just because it sounds spicy. And it leaves us with 3 elite athletes who, rumors aside, are going to keep battling it out on the hardwood. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss the truth behind the headlines. Because regardless of the backstage gossip, these guys are going to compete at the highest level for a long time. That rivalry on the court, that is the only action that actually matters here. Everything else is just distraction. And let's face it, in the year 2025, we are already dealing with way too much noise.